There's a truth about women that many men never understand. What she truly craves isn't always what she says. Beneath her words lies a quiet hunger, one that speaks through emotion, energy, and presence. She may appear composed, independent, even untouchable, but deep within, she longs for something that goes far beyond physical attraction. She craves to be seen, not just looked at, to be understood without explaining, to feel desired without performing. That is the secret craving of a woman's heart. Every woman carries a fire that burns silently beneath her calm. She may never say it out loud, but she wants a connection that awakens her soul as much as it stirs her body. She doesn't want a man who only chases her beauty. She wants one who can read her silence, sense her energy, and touch the places words can't reach. She desires a love that feels safe yet electric, gentle yet consuming, one that doesn't demand but understands. A woman secretly craves emotional leadership, not control, not dominance, but strength rooted in calm presence. When a man can hold space for her emotions without flinching, her guard begins to melt. She doesn't crave perfection, she craves consistency. When she feels that she can fall apart in his presence and still be adored, that's when she truly opens. She also craves mystery, not in games, but in depth. She wants to discover a man layer by layer, to feel that his spirit holds stories, wisdom, and emotions that are not easily given away. She wants to chase his energy the way he chases her body, because for a woman the thrill is not in possession, it's in connection that feels rare and sacred. What women crave but rarely admit is emotional safety, the safety to be soft, expressive, even messy without being judged. When she senses that your presence is steady enough to hold her storms, she lets you into her world. In that space, she gives more than words, more than touch, she gives devotion. And that is not something that can be forced. It must be earned through emotional intelligence and authenticity. And finally, every woman secretly craves admiration not for what she does, but for who she is. The small details she hides from the world, the way she laughs, the dreams she's scared to say, the quirks she calls flaws. Those are the pieces she hopes someone will one day love deeply. She wants to be seen in her entirety, not just her beauty but her being. So if you want to understand what women secretly crave, stop listening only to what they say. Feel what they don't. Their true desires live in their silence, in their glances, in the way their energy shifts when they feel safe enough to be real. That's where their truth lives. And once you can feel that, you'll understand that what she craves is not fantasy. It's connection, safety, mystery, and being deeply, genuinely seen. She craves emotional depth, not surface-level attraction, but a soulful connection that makes her feel understood without needing words. A woman's deepest desire isn't found in the compliments she receives or the attention she attracts. It's hidden in the silent moments when she feels truly seen. What she wants isn't a man who simply notices her beauty, but one who notices her being. She wants someone who can listen to her without her having to explain everything, who feels her energy before she even speaks. That's where connection begins, not in touch or talk, but in presence. When a woman meets a man who can connect with her on that frequency, her soul recognizes it before her mind does. Emotional depth is the rarest kind of attraction. It's not about what's said, it's about what's felt. It's the look in the eyes that says, "I see you," even when words are absent. It's the comfort she feels in his silence, the unspoken understanding that doesn't need validation. A woman longs for that kind of bond because it allows her to rest in authenticity. When she senses that a man's intentions are pure, that his energy is calm and his presence grounded, she softens without effort. She doesn't have to perform, she doesn't have to hide, she simply becomes. That's when true intimacy begins to grow. In a world full of distractions, where conversations are shallow and attention spans are short, emotional depth feels like a breath of fresh air. A woman can tell when someone is speaking to impress her versus when someone is listening to understand her. She can feel the difference between lust and connection, between curiosity and care. She doesn't want someone who only hears her words. She wants someone who feels the emotions behind them. The man who can do that becomes unforgettable, not because of what he says, but because of how he makes her feel. When a woman craves emotional depth, she's longing for a space where her emotions are safe to be witnessed. She wants to be felt in her highs and lows, in her laughter and in her quiet. She desires a connection where she can reveal her fears without losing respect, where her vulnerability isn't seen as weakness but as truth. The more she feels emotionally understood, the more she begins to trust, and when she trusts, she opens not just her heart, but her whole being. That openness is not something that can be forced. It's something that grows in the presence of genuine care. There's a language beyond words that emotionally deep men understand. It's the language of tone, energy, and timing. They know when to speak and when to stay silent. They understand that holding space can be more powerful than giving advice. To a woman, that kind of energy feels magnetic because it gives her permission to stop performing and start feeling. It allows her to surrender to something real, and that surrender is not weakness, it's the purest form of trust. A woman who feels understood doesn't crave constant reassurance because emotional depth gives her stability. It roots her in connection rather than confusion. She stops second, guessing his feelings because his presence speaks louder than his promises. The consistency of his energy becomes her comfort. The way he looks at her, listens to her, and remembers the small details. Those are the acts that build the invisible thread between them. Emotional depth is the foundation of everything she secretly longs for. It's what makes her body respond, her heart soften, and her mind feel safe. She craves to be known beyond her appearance, to be loved not just for her beauty, but for her emotions, her thoughts, her contradictions. When a man connects with that level of honesty, he doesn't just attract her, he awakens her. And once a woman feels emotionally seen, she will never forget the one who gave she craves emotional safety, the freedom to express, feel, and be vulnerable without fear of judgment or rejection. Beneath her strength, independence, and calm exterior, every woman holds a fragile space she rarely shows the world. It's the part of her that wants to cry without being called too emotional, to express her needs without being labeled needy, to share her truth without fearing it will be used against her. What she truly longs for is not perfection in a man, but safety in his presence. She wants to know that when she reveals her unfiltered emotions, she won't be met with ridicule, coldness, or withdrawal, but with understanding and acceptance. Emotional safety is what allows her to unfold. Without it, she guards herself with silence, with humor, with strength that looks like confidence, but is often protection. The moment she feels unsafe when her feelings are dismissed, when her vulnerability is met with impatience, she retreats. But when she senses that a man can hold space for her emotions without reacting, without trying to fix or control her, something inside her begins to relax. That relaxation is the beginning of trust. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the small moments when she feels emotionally held. When he listens not to respond, but to understand. When he looks at her not with judgment, but with empathy. For a woman, emotional safety is the foundation of connection. It's what allows her to open her heart, her body, her spirit. It's what transforms interaction into intimacy, because when she feels safe, she no longer performs. She simply is. She doesn't need to filter her truth or hide her insecurities. She can laugh freely, cry openly, and express anger without fear of abandonment. The man who offers her that space becomes more than a partner. He becomes her peace, and peace, for a woman, is far more intoxicating than passion alone. Many women have learned to suppress their emotions because they were taught that showing too much feeling makes them weak or undesirable. They've been silenced by rejection or mocked for their honesty, so they build walls, beautiful ones made of smiles, strength, and control. But beneath those walls lives a heart that still longs to be seen, not in her perfection, but in her imperfection. When she finds someone who doesn't flinch at her tears, who can stand steady when she's overwhelmed, those walls start to crumble. She starts to believe that love can be safe. Emotional safety doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says or avoiding conflict. It means handling her emotions with care. It's the art of being emotionally grounded when she's not. It's the ability to stay soft even when she's sharp, to remain calm when her feelings are storming. The man who can do that becomes the anchor in her chaos, the calm in her uncertainty. He doesn't have to fix her pain. His presence alone becomes the remedy. That's the kind of safety her soul seeks, a love that doesn't demand her to be perfect, but welcomes her as she is. When she feels emotionally safe, she starts to bloom. Her laughter becomes louder, her energy lighter, her affection deeper. She gives more without being asked because her love flows naturally in the presence of peace. Emotional safety allows her to let go of fear, to express what's real instead of what's expected. And once she experiences that kind of connection, she can never settle for less again. She craves to be met where her emotions live, to be held when she's fragile, to be heard when she's silent, and to be loved even when she's imperfect. That kind of safety doesn't just make her feel secure. It makes her feel alive. Because for a woman, love without safety is just attention. But love with emotional safety is sanctuary. And in that sanctuary, she doesn't just exist, she finally feels free. She craves mystery and masculine calm, a presence that's steady, intriguing, and spiritually grounded, allowing her to relax into trust. A woman is drawn to mystery not because she wants confusion, but because she wants depth. She longs for a man who carries an energy that cannot be easily figured out, one who doesn't reveal everything at once, who moves with quiet confidence instead of noise. Mystery to her is not about games, it's about depth that invites curiosity. It's the aura of a man who knows himself, who doesn't chase validation, and who walks through life with a sense of direction that doesn't need to be announced. When a man embodies that calm and certainty, she feels safe to soften around him. A woman feels trust not through words, but through energy. She watches how a man moves when life gets heavy, how he reacts when she's emotional, how he handles silence. Masculine calm is not indifference, it's a quiet strength that tells her, "You're safe here." It's his steady tone when she's upset, his patience when she's uncertain, his ability to remain composed without suppressing her expression. That calm is magnetic because it gives her nervous system permission to rest. In his presence, her guard lowers, her breath slows, and her spirit begins to open. She doesn't need to prove anything because his energy already tells her she's accepted. Mystery and calm work together like balance and breath. A mysterious man doesn't rush to prove himself. He lets his actions speak. He listens more than he talks, and when he speaks, his words carry intention. His mystery doesn't come from withholding. It comes from living deeply. A woman senses when a man has layers she hasn't yet explored, when his silence carries wisdom instead of emptiness. That quiet confidence pulls her closer, not because he demands attention, but because he commands it effortlessly. It's in the way he moves, the way he looks at her without needing to say much, the way he holds space without trying to fill it. In a world full of loud voices and restless energy, masculine calm is rare, and that's what makes it irresistible. A woman doesn't want a man who always reacts. She wants one who responds. One who is so grounded in his emotions that her storms don't scare him. She wants to feel his strength not in domination, but in his ability to stay centered when she can't. The man who carries that kind of peace doesn't just attract her attention. He earns her trust, because deep down, what she craves is a love that feels stable even when life doesn't. The mystery she desires is not about secrets or uncertainty. It's about discovery. She wants to feel that there's always something more to learn about him, that his soul is an unfolding story she'll never tire of reading. She craves the kind of connection where curiosity never dies, where each conversation, each silence, reveals a new piece of who he is. His mystery keeps her drawn in, while his calm keeps her safe. It's a balance of intensity and serenity that few can master, and that's what makes it unforgettable. When she feels this combination of mystery and calm, she surrenders not out of weakness, but out of trust. She allows herself to rest in his energy because it feels anchored, unwavering. She knows that no matter how emotional, playful, or vulnerable she becomes, he won't lose his ground. And in that steadiness, she finds freedom. Her softness, her sensuality, her openness, they all awaken naturally around a man who embodies this balance. She craves a man whose presence feels like silence that speaks, whose energy soothes her chaos, whose depth keeps her intrigued long after the words fade. When a man carries mystery and masculine calm, he becomes more than attraction, he becomes peace wrapped in intrigue. And in that energy she doesn't just fall in love. She relaxes into it, trusting that she's finally found something real, something rare, something she can surrender to without fear. She craves genuine admiration, to be seen and loved for her essence, not just her beauty or achievements. Beneath the makeup, the confidence, the laughter, and all the roles she plays, a woman longs for something simple yet sacred, to be truly seen, not for the image she presents to the world, but for the quiet parts she hides, the softness, the insecurities, the dreams that scare her to speak aloud. She wants admiration that goes beyond surface-level praise, beyond compliments on her looks or success. What she really craves is the kind of attention that reaches her soul, the gaze that says, "I see you," even when you're not trying to be seen. So often, women are admired for what they do, how they look, or what they give. But genuine admiration is different. It's not earned, it's felt. It's the energy that says she's enough, even when she's not performing. It's the recognition of her essence, her warmth, her resilience, her depth, the quiet strength she carries through her hardest days. She doesn't want admiration for the image she maintains. She wants it for the truth of who she is when no one's watching. Because in that truth, she's real, raw, and beautiful in a way that no achievement can match. When a woman feels genuinely admired, her entire being responds. Her spirit softens, her walls lower, her heart opens. She no longer feels the need to hide behind perfection or strength, because she senses that someone sees beyond it. To be admired for her essence is to feel accepted without having to earn it. It's to be valued not for her productivity or appearance, but for her presence, for the light she brings into a room, the way her energy shifts the air, the way her laughter carries warmth even in silence. That kind of admiration nourishes her, because it tells her she's loved not for what she gives, but for who she is. A woman craves to be looked at in a way that makes her feel understood. She wants someone to notice the little things that most people overlook. The way her eyes light up when she talks about something she loves, the tone of her voice when she's nervous, the kindness in her actions that no one thanks her for. Those are the details that speak to her soul, because genuine admiration isn't loud. It's quiet and consistent. It's the glance that lingers not because of desire, but because of appreciation. It's the way someone remembers her words, her moods, her essence. When she feels that, she doesn't need reassurance. She already feels cherished. In a world where beauty is often measured in filters and validation is temporary, genuine admiration is a gift. It's rare because it requires presence. It requires seeing beyond appearances into the person's energy. And when a man gives that kind of attention, he awakens something sacred in her. She begins to glow differently, not because of flattery, but because she feels seen. That glow isn't about vanity, it's her soul responding to being acknowledged. To admire her essence is to honor her truth. It's to recognize the depth in her emotions, the beauty in her imperfections, and the grace in her chaos. It's to hold space for the woman behind the smile, to appreciate not only her calm but also her storms. When she feels this kind of admiration, she feels safe to be real. She no longer hides behind armor or fear because she knows she's valued for her authenticity. She craves that kind of love, the kind that doesn't fade when her beauty changes, that doesn't waver when she's tired or uncertain. She wants a love that admires her soul even when her exterior is unguarded, because when she is seen for her essence, she doesn't just feel desired. She feels understood, respected, and deeply valued. And in that space, she gives her heart fully, not out of need, but out of trust. For her, genuine admiration is not about attention, it's about recognition. It's the quiet whisper of energy that says, "You don't have to try. You're already everything.